Hello and welcome to the 01581 Let's Talk. Today, a conversation with our town manager and an update from the Sustainable Westborough Chair on the upcoming Environmental Action Fair. Join us today for this great conversation. Okay, hello and welcome back. Kristi, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you again. What's going on? What do you have for our audience?
I was going to let you know today how the first meeting of the golf club building use committee meeting was last night.
Excellent.
So we had our first meeting. So as you know, there's a select board member. So Ian Johnson is the representative from the select board. Myself, Jen Kirkland as the recreation director, Matt Griffith as our golf pro, and then we have 5 residents on the committee.
Yeah,
so great
big
committee.
Yeah, newly stood up and lots of interest. From the community to join it. So tell us about what happened. What's going on?
Sure. So we met at the golf club. So we actually were able to do a building tour as part of our meeting, which was great. A good intro into kind of what's going on with the building.
Eyes on the reality of what we're looking at versus maybe myth.
Right. And so the goal of the committee is to report back a recommendation to the select board by October 1st. So a tight timeline, but a lot of excitement around getting that done.
Good.
So
Great.
We've decided that we're meeting on May 10th at 6:30 at Memorial Hall, and then May 24th, 6:30 Memorial Hall.
Okay.
Will be our meetings in May.
Great.
And at those 2 meetings, we're actually going to have presentations from sort of folks in the know. So Matt Griffith, as our golf pro, is going to talk about how he uses the building, how he would love to use the building.
Okay. Yep.
Jen Kirkland, also as our recreation director, similar presentation. The second meeting in May, we're going to invite folks from other golf clubs.
Okay.
We identified a town-owned golf club that we thought would be a really good resource for us.
Great.
And start to really understand kind of how it works in other communities.
Sure.
And then really exciting is this committee is interested in doing a community survey.
Oh, wow.
So,
very cool.
yep. So the goal is to get that out by June 1st.
Oh, wow.
So we're working on questions that we can ask the community and putting that together. And then that'll be available everywhere by June 1st.
I can tell just from your energy here that it was a really good meeting.
It was a great meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people have a lot of interest in the topic and excitement around it and energy for it, which is what we need.
Yeah, that's great. No, it's great, and I love seeing. I mean, I know the select board went through a very intentional process, and we actually broadened the scope of the original size of the committee because there was such interest from the community. So it's really great. I love that people are interested, but I just love the energy that they bring. Maybe because they haven't had that experience, right? Because there's a mix of people, as you said, that are kind of part of town government, those that are serving on boards, and those that it's their first time and they just care about the community. That's awesome.
So that's great. And we just talked to Westborough TV about live streaming those meetings, so
awesome.
people can tune in.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. Very good. So 2 meetings in May, a community survey, and then ultimately a report to the select board in October.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Lots of work.
That's the plan.
Great.
So.
Great. Anything else? Anything else you want to give us an update on, or?
The next update, and we'll probably talk more about it, hopefully next week, is that our senior needs assessment should be finalizing in the next week or so.
Excellent.
Really excited to get that report out to the community to read, and then also we get one presentation from UMass Boston who did the work. And so that will be a public presentation, which we hope everyone will either attend or watch on TV.
And our friends at Westborough TV always wanted to help
Yes.
there. Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great to see you this week. Thanks so much. We'll be right back in just a few minutes with Pete Dunbeck from Sustainable Westborough. Thanks. Hello and welcome back to the 01581. I'm joined by my guest, Pete Dunbeck, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks so much for joining. So, Pete, would love to talk to you today about the work of Sustainable Westborough and the upcoming Environmental Action Fair. Lots of interest in that in the community. But first, about you. You've been working with Sustainable Westborough for, I don't know how many years now, 3, 4?
7.
Okay, sorry, that was embarrassing. 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow. What drives your interest? What's your passion?
I've been concerned about climate change in particular since before I retired 7 years ago, which is why I know the date so well. But
And as a volunteer now, you're not retired,
No,
right?
I'm not retired. No, I'm busy as can be.
Right.
But retiring allowed me to spend my time on what I want to spend it on, and I began, basically getting more informed, which actually made me more concerned as I got to be more knowledgeable about it.
Sure.
And the threat is very clear as I review it, and what's not clear is the policies and what to do to it to respond to the problems.
Sure.
And there is another factor, and I've talked about in public about my grandchildren and the concern there. There's a huge intergenerational issue here. I mean, it's easy for us, certainly at my age, I'm not going to see the worst of it, but we're accruing a debt, and basically we want to maintain our lifestyle and our status quo and so forth. It's easy to say, oh, it's too expensive, but all of that's going to be paid out in huge numbers. And the business firm Deloitte Consulting did a study of this, and in my grandchildren's lifetimes, in the next 50 years, they estimate it'll cost $14 trillion in environmental and economic and health impact because of climate change if we just maintain the status quo.
Wow.
So change is imperative. It's not going to be easy. It's really complicated. It requires talent from different backgrounds, legal and health and technologists and social, people oriented towards community, social justice issues. It's just really complicated.
Yeah, and there is, I think what I've observed is that there often is sort of a sense of, I know it's there, but I don't want to know it's there. I don't want to know how bad it is, and I kind of want to bury my head in the sand a little bit. And it's not a matter of not acknowledging it, but it's a matter of not taking action on it sometimes. And so the work of Sustainable Westborough, though, is taking action on it. What are some of the priorities that the committee is working on right now that you can share?
So we have in the state of Massachusetts many programs. The state is very concerned about it. They have real experts studying the science and so forth, and they've drawn the conclusions of concern that I just tried to express, and they have policy experts and stuff that try to make the economic versus environmental trade-offs, and have tremendous programs. So our program is basically a reflection of the state program.
Okay.
And we've organized around 4 functional groups within Sustainable Westborough. The top 3 in regard to greenhouse gas emissions impact is clean electricity, drive green, the transportation electrification, and building energy, which includes both efficiency and electrification.
So on the first one, though, if you may, the electrification, is that
clean electricity?
Clean electricity, municipal, commercial, residential,
Yes.
that's all encompassed under there. Yep.
So, as you well know, we have a very good program in Westborough, Westborough Power Choice, and it protects customers from rate increases, which you see with National Grid going up and down in the summer-winter cycles and over time.
Sure.
And have saved the town a lot of money historically. And we also, in the last cycle, increased the amount of renewable energy in that. So even though we've increased the amount of renewable energy, which has a minor increase in cost, it's still much cheaper and it's saving money compared to National Grid.
Absolutely.
it's been a very successful program.
And so for the viewers who may not be familiar with, when you said like Power Choice, so that's our community aggregation plan.
Yes.
There's information right on the town's website,
Yep.
the front page. You can find that out. If you have questions, call the town manager's office and
Yeah.
they can direct you to it. I know as a residential consumer, we're part of that program. We have been for years.
Yes.
And the stability of the pricing and the ability to choose the clean level, if you will, the greenness of the electricity is a wonderful choice for folks. So, yeah. So I'm sorry. So we've got three
those
priorities.
three-
Yep.
So
yep.
those are the priority programs because of the climate impact, the greenhouse
Sure.
gas. And then we have many other things we're concerned about: waste management, composting,
Sure.
planting trees, how we manage water, and so forth. And we
Sure.
call that sustainable living. It's kind of the
Yep.
everything else category.
Okay.
And it's actually interesting, as I have done this over the years, it's the one people relate to the most.
Yeah.
It's everyday living
Sure.
for them.
Sure.
Where buying a car is a once every
Yeah.
5 years thing.
Right. Right.
Their electric bill, they don't even understand it, and so
Yeah.
forth. So,
Yeah.
so they're more esoteric. They're
Right.
important policy things that I think it's really important that we attend to.
Sure.
But people live in sustainable living. It's where their
Sure.
day-to-day lives are.
Sure, and that's probably a bit of a good transition to the upcoming Environmental Action Fair. So this is the second fair, right?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't
Yes,
get the 7
yes.
years right, but it's the second fair that we've had here. It's on May 13th. Tell us about what folks can expect.
Yep. So we have kind of two main activities. One is an exhibit hall where we have about 40 businesses, nonprofits, state and regional agencies with exhibits.
Yep.
HVAC contractors, solar,
Yep.
the garden club, the town tree warden is going to come and teach about
Excellent.
planting trees and
Yep.
so forth. So a
Yep.
good spectrum.
Sure.
Sustainable Westborough is going to be there talking about our programs. There's also going to be about 20 student-oriented programs. The Sustainability Squad at Mill Pond is going to have a table. There's one from Fales that has an environmental education.
Cool.
It's triple EP. I forgot what the third E is.
Yeah.
They're, in our fair last year, we got a lot of feedback that the student participation was really inspiring
Yeah.
and a high point.
Yeah.
And the other big theater of activity is the auditorium. So the first is going to be in the gym. The exhibits are going to be in the gym.
Okay. Yep.
The auditorium, we're going to have a keynote speaker, which I think is going to be really exciting. We can
Yeah.
elaborate on in a minute in regard to climate tipping points.
Yeah.
We have a student panel. The Mill Pond group has gotten together. The high school kids are actually designed the program
Awesome.
and are going to be the facilitators of the panel.
That's
It's going to be a really nice discussion. And the third is a professor from UMass Dartmouth who specializes in pollinators. And he's
Oh,
going to be
interesting.
talking about the crisis in bees and what we can do about it.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, I was actually, printed off the information
Yep.
from the sustainable page. So some of the other elements that folks may be interested in. So that there's information on, kind of ways in which you can be more energy efficient and greener in your home, heat pumps. Obviously, solar. There's a component, there'll be some information on sustainable landscaping, composting, recycling. So lots of really hands-on practical information for residents. And you've expanded from the cafeteria to the gym, so it continues to grow.
Yes,
This
yes,
is great.
yeah. We were in Mill Pond last year and in the cafeteria, as you said,
Yep.
which, too much probably detail, but it's like 5,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And the gym is 10,000, so we basically doubled our square footage.
Wow, that's great.
And I was doing the floor plan last night, and we've pretty much filled the gym. It's like going to be, depending on how many student exhibits
Fantastic.
show up,
Yeah.
we're going to be very full,
Yeah, I was
which is nice.
Yeah, I was amazed last year. Some of the student exhibits were, first of all, you could see how much pride that
Yeah.
they took in them. and they were inspirational. It was like these young kids really care about this, so it was great.
One thing that's just kind of being talked about
Sure.
over the last week is there was an eco poster contest, and one young
Yep.
woman, young girl from, I think she was Mill Pond, one of the students won a statewide award in that program. And so I sent a note to the principals, and they responded favorably that they will invite their kids to bring artwork. So we're going to try to just put, so you don't have to
Cool.
stand up and talk if you're shy, but you can bring your artwork and put it up.
Awesome.
And it'll be, I
Awesome.
think, an opportunity.
Great way for people to engage. So let's talk about the keynote speaker. So you
Yeah.
have Melanie Wallace. She's a Emmy award-winning producer of Nova, which was and produced the longest-running science show in the country. And
Yes.
so she lives in nearby, I think it's Newtonville. And so tell us about what she's going to talk about.
So the films that that are going to be discussed, and some of them are going to be shown, are studies that were done with the Woodall Research Institute, previously known as Woods Hole Research.
Sure.
And scientists from universities all over the country, from MIT to Oregon and California. So all these scientists are talking to their data and how there are certain natural processes that if they go out of whack, they aren't quite sure what's going to happen, but they tend to spiral to get worse. And the one that I think I relate to clearest is the permafrost. If you have snow-covered frozen bogs, basically, you have all this trapped carbon under the ground, and it isn't going anywhere because it's frozen.
Sure.
But as the temperatures get warmer, it exposes that, and that carbon starts getting released.
Sure.
So if you expose enough of the permafrost, you could have no further fossil fuel burning at all, and all the bogs would keep emitting, and the cycle gets worse and worse, even though the human activity stops.
Wow.
And there's 4 of them they talk about that could spin out of control. You can't run around saying the sky is falling.
Yeah.
You can't just panic people. You need to give them actionable things to do, and that's what the fair is about. You need to warn them, give in a substantive, what is it that we're talking about? What are the bad things that could happen? And they're not 100% probable, but it's like 50-50. We could destroy the planet, or maybe we won't. So what are you going to do? 50-50. You're not sure.
Yeah.
Well, for my grandkids, I'm gonna avoid that risk.
Sure, absolutely. So the fair is, what are the hours of the fair?
So the keynote starts at 12 noon. The exhibit's open at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay, great.
The other speakers are at 2 and at 3.
Okay, great. So folks can arrive at noontime and, great. And I know you're doing this in collaboration with the Rotary Club.
Yeah, great partners of ours, yeah.
Excellent. And will there be an electric vehicle exhibit at this event, or is that sort of expected maybe as a second event at some point?
So that's a good question, and I'm glad you raised it. So we have a plan that we did last year, and we plan to make it an annual event, is to have an indoor fair in the spring, which is what we just talked about, and then an outdoor EV Expo in the fall.
Yep.
So last year in October we had the EV Expo, is at Amazon Robotics.
Yeah, it's a great event.
Kickoff event.
Yeah.
It was well attended. We are in the process of setting up the details of that for October 1st. It's a Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
Is the plan.
Write that down.
October 1st.
Excellent.
Being Sunday, it allows car dealers to be involved a little more because their dealerships are so busy on Saturday afternoon.
Makes sense.
So we're looking for another EV Expo in the fall.
Excellent.
I will add, Landry's Bikes is going to come to the fair on May 13th and have a tent outside and offer rides on e-bikes.
Oh, great. Excellent. Excellent.
It's kind of a a compromise, because other people wanted to bring the EVs and show them and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's good to get the
Yeah.
audience to want more, right?
Yeah.
You know, and there will be information within the gymnasium about electric vehicles, right?
Yes.
So there will be some folks
Yes,
there to
yes.
talk about that. So.
Yes, and EV charging in particular.
Excellent, excellent. Well, it's a complicated space. I do know, just in the few minutes we have left. So we, as a town, we have the Climate Action Plan, which is, I sort of look at it as a guide. And again, as you said at the beginning of our conversation, you know, Westborough isn't leading the way. We're really working, I look at it in sort of collaboration with the state that's leading
Yes.
the way, and really kind of modeling our work after that.
Yes.
And so the work of Sustainable Westborough is aligned with the Climate Action Plan, but the intent of that, right, is that it's not just the work of one committee. It's all of municipal government is aligning with that work, or that
Yes.
plan, excuse me.
Yes, and really it's all of the community. So it's
Yes.
people like Rotary, and the Garden Club has gotten active in this fair. I think is another good example of some of the churches and synagogue have active programs.
Sure.
So I think getting all of these different community groups,
Yeah.
organizers of people,
Yeah.
the schools have been fabulous to work with. So
Good.
all of town government as well as all of the community needs to be involved.
Excellent. Well, it's a fast-growing space. I know personally, you know, we've started to look at in our home solar, and it's a pretty mind-blowing experience. So I'm very excited to attend the fair, to have some conversations, because it's a major investment, right? And so you want to make sure you're making the right decision, the right investment for your home, and ultimately reducing greenhouse gases. But it's if you want to go get good information, go to the Environmental Action Fair on Saturday, May 13th. Keynote is at 12, and then the rest of the events, other student speakers, symposiums, and the fair from 1 to 4. So thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next week on the 01581.